Hello, friends. Today we're talking about something that can actually change the way you digest food and produce energy. Today we're going to talk about digestive enzymes. We've all heard the saying, you are what you eat, but I'd like to take it one step further. You are what you eat, digest, and absorb. Because if your body can't break it down, it can't use it. And that affects everything: your energy, your mood, your immunity, and your ability to heal. Digestion starts actually in your brain. Yeah, that's true. So the moment you see or smell food, your body starts preparing to digest. Just think about those TV commercials that make you hungry, that make you salivate. If you're eating distracted, like while watching TV or scrolling your phone or responding to emails, you're short circuiting that entire process. So, one of the most foundational things you can do is be present with your meals. It sounds simple, but it sets the stage for everything else. As you start chewing, your body releases salivary amylase, and that's an enzyme that begins breaking down carbohydrates or carbs right in your mouth. The next stop, once you've chewed your food and you've chewed it really well, is your stomach. And your stomach is a miracle of design. It produces hydrochloric acid or HCl, which is an extremely powerful acid that plays two key roles. The first role is it helps you digest protein. And so if food feels like it just sits in your stomach, or you have really smelly gas, that could be a sign of low stomach acid, not having enough stomach acid. Number two function of stomach acid is it actually kills harmful bacteria and pathogens before they travel down into your digestive tract. But many people today struggle with low stomach acid. Why is that? Well, one of the reasons is because we don't chew. We don't chew our food very well. And chewing is the signal that tells your stomach, get ready, protein is on the way. So, a quick word about protein shakes. Now, don't get me wrong, I use protein shakes too, but if you chug 30 to 50 grams of protein in one shake, in one gulp, your stomach doesn't really know how to handle it. It's like, wait, how did all this protein get here with no chewing, no prep, no warning? That's one reason protein drinks can cause bloating or discomfort. So, a pro tip for you is actually something that I learned from a friend of mine, which is chew your liquids and drink your solids. And what that means is if you're drinking something like a smoothie with carbohydrates and protein in it, give it a few chews before you swallow. And that helps signal enzyme production in the stomach. And if you're eating solid food, chew it until it's nearly liquid. The more work you do in your mouth, the less stress on your gut. So the next stage in the digestive system is the liver and the gallbladder. Your liver produces bile, B-I-L-E, which is stored in your gallbladder. And bile's job is to help you break down fats so your body can absorb them. So if you experience discomfort after eating fatty foods, if you have pale or greasy bowel movements, like there's a film floating at the top of the toilet, it might be a bile flow issue or a bile production issue. So healthy bile should flow like green juice. Think thin and free moving. But for many people, it turns sluggish and thick like a smoothie, which makes fat digestion really difficult. So you can support your bile flow by chewing thoroughly and by having enough stomach acid. These send signals for bile release. So when you have enough stomach acid, that it actually breaks down the food in your stomach. And when that pH gets low enough, then it signals the release of bile. Eating a low toxin diet is something else you can do to help with your bile release. Since toxins often thicken bile, and since bile is one way that we actually eliminate toxins, if you're overwhelming that system by eating lots and lots of toxins, or if you're in an environment with lots and lots of toxins, then you can actually overwhelm that system. Your body will start try to reabsorb old bile and reuse bile, and it just gets thicker and thicker and thicker. So eating a low toxin diet can actually really help with bile production. Another tip is using bitter herbs like dandelion root tea, which has been used for generations and generations to support gallbladder function. And dandelions have a very powerful medicinal effect. Most people don't realize that dandelions are not native to the United States. They were actually brought over by early settlers, even on the Mayflower, and they were purposefully planted as medicinal herbs. And they slowly made their way west as people would travel and their wagon wheels would create paths and kind of clear out paths, killing the grass and everything. They called it a golden road because dandelions naturally kind of cover over cracks in the earth or where there's a little gap. Dandelions are almost like a band-aid. They kind of go over that. And so it looked like two golden rails going out west as the settlers went through. So dandelions can actually be really, really beneficial for bile formation. Always work with a practitioner who can help tailor these enzymes or tailor this process to your body and your body's needs. So lastly, the last stage in the digestion that we're going to talk about is the pancreas. So your pancreas makes enzymes such as pancreatic amylase, which helps break down carbs, lipase, which helps break down fats, and protease, which actually help break down proteins. So most enzyme supplements that you're going to come across in a store, they're going to try to mimic these. But guess what? Your body can actually produce its own if you give it the right signals. So how can you give your body the right signals? Well, master the basics. So again, chew your food really well, stimulate stomach acid, keep the bile flowing, and stay present at meals. You can also support your pancreas naturally by eating fermented foods such as probiotics, which actually help signal enzyme production. These foods would include things like kefir or kefir. I'm not sure how you say it properly. I've heard it both ways. Or sauerkraut or things like that that are naturally fermented foods. You could also include things like certain fruits and certain type of foods that have their own pancreatic enzyme like enzymes. And that food, those foods would include things like pineapple, papaya, and mango, and they have their own natural enzymes to help break them down. So here's the big takeaway from today's video. You have multiple enzyme systems in your body. First, stomach acid, bile, pancreatic enzymes, and even some enzyme production in your mouth. And if even one of those systems is off, it can throw everything out of sync. So pay attention to your symptoms. What foods leave you feeling bloated or heavy? What do your bowel movements look like? I've got a podcast on that very thing. It's my second podcast, and it's called Oh Crap, but it talks about what your bowel looks like, what your bowel movements look like, and what that can be a signal of. And are you digesting fats and proteins and carbs properly? Think about those things. Are you getting bloating? Do you have foul-smelling gas? Or is your body always giving you clues every time you eat? Are you noticing discomfort? Are you noticing some of these things? Are you noticing that you feel tired and bloated and fatigued and gassy? If so, then your body could be giving you some signs and it could be asking for help with digestion. So if you've tried digestive enzymes before and you didn't notice a difference, you may have been targeting the wrong enzyme system. And so that's not failure, that's just more insight for what your next step may need to be. So you can be your own detective, track what works, track what doesn't work, and build habits that help your body make the enzymes that it needs instead of relying on supplements for long-term use. Not that that's the end of the world, but if you can, you want to really help your body do the best job it can. You've got this. And if you need help figuring out what's going on under the hood, I'd love to walk with you through that process. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.